Thank you so much. Absolutely beautiful to be spoken to across so long. As you know, Alejandro, we are in our third of kind of 3 quite busy days. I'll ask Maria to come and join me here, and we're just going to take a moment to come back to your text, and also just open up maybe a little bit the floor here and also virtually. Just to kind of bring in the other speakers. And of course, we started with that beautiful film as well by Fiona Lannan, who's also still here with us. So Fiona, if you would like, I mean, I don't want to put you on. Oh, perfect. You're happy to come back to the room. That'd be great. And we have Michael here as well. Alejandro, it's been very interesting to kind of hear and read your work intermittently with the work that Maria and I have been doing in the larger framework of Creevagh. Words to describe Creevagh are arts and archaeology, also experimental heritage, bringing in the multi-temporal, which I know Maria is going to talk about. And today has been a very interesting day of really playfully looking at water heritage from the bathtub and this bizarre product of kind of maybe 50-year cycle of human use. But also we started yesterday with Eamon Doyle, who was from Burren Geoparks, who gave an extraordinary kind of starting with Licking Lake, which was really our kind of body of water that Creevagh started our research with, and then taking us right back in geological time. And something really shifted when he came back into the lake. And I thought, it is understanding that we stand in these very, very long streams of time that will continue. And of course, Fiona's beautiful film of questioning kind of who will be here after and what that kind of longer legacy is. We're surrounded here by countless holy wells, and each of those bodies of water also carries its own history, mythology, symbology. So I will shut up now and hand over maybe to Maria to just comment on, I suppose, where we've triangulated or tried to triangulate your work with the research we're doing here.
Well, I guess, thank you, Rachel. What we're very interested in is this notion of interconnectivity and how we can expand out through different disciplines. So we're transdisciplinary. And Alejandro in his book has listed a very interesting engagement. And if I could refer to that, Alejandro, where you have protest, cooperation, cultural empowerment, social justice, climate justice, and a better Anthropocene. And maybe you could land us in where we fit. If we're expanding this way, where are we on that scale? Could you help us with that?
Yeah. No, and before I answer that, I just want to say the interdisciplinary nature of the symposium is fantastic, because that's like exactly what we need to have a better Anthropocene. So those words that you just referred to, Maria, are from a chapter in which there was a combination of the indigenous people that I work with, basically bringing back, revitalizing their indigenous laws to protect their populations of Dungeness crab in a way that conventional fishery management by the federal government was not doing so. And there was a combination of science and civil disobedience and other things that brought all this together. And really, the point of the book is that to go forward into a better Anthropocene, we need to bring together these different ways of knowledge from indigenous people, from science, from other spheres as well. And the only way we can achieve that is if we first achieve social justice at a broader level. Certainly in my part of the world, even though the indigenous people have remained present, they were severely oppressed for over 150 years to unimaginable levels through residential schools. I'm sure a lot of the recent news about unmarked graves showing up in residential schools has made it across the ocean, and that's just a drop in the bucket of what's happened. So for my work, none of this remains abstract. Like, I work with these people. I see their struggles to leave that past behind, to reclaim the essence of the traditional ways, but in a modern context. I mean, these are not, it's not at all about romanticizing the past, but there's really deep wealth of knowledge that goes back millennia. I mean, the coast of British Columbia had about 150,000 people living just on the coastal fringe, exclusively from local resources at the time of European arrivals. That we would, if we were to try and do that today, we would probably deplete everything within a few months. But they did this for millennia, and that doesn't happen by accident. It's that intentional stewardship practices that developed over time through some trial and error, but they create this ethos of taking only what you need, of reciprocity, respect with all living things in the ocean, that, you know, they feed you physically, spiritually, but you have responsibilities towards them as well. And I see that in my work with this indigenous group being revitalized in a modern context. And to me, that is essential to going forward.
I'd just like to open up to if anyone is here amongst us that would like to ask Alejandro, or indeed any of the other speakers here, and we'll do a little kind of flip around with that, so we make sure that it's heard. If there's any thoughts or comments? Or... Hello.
Sorry, I'm Maria's mother. But just to link on what you're saying with water and all the rest of it, we need water for clothes. We should respect things. And this has just come to mind when I came in here. Maria is wearing an outfit belonged to my mother, which she had at a wedding. My mum has stayed 13 years, so Rachel actually recognized.
Yes, intentionally.
This is all intentional.
This is just fashion. We're just talking fashion here.
And this just to link with Alejandro, I bought in Vancouver.
Wonderful. So it's a theme of material and linking, and actually, absolutely.
You know, we buy waste and throw away instead of passing them on.
Yeah.
You know.
So respect for the materiality that we carry amongst us. This is Maria's mum who's here with us, but actually it links, I think, very clearly back to some of the themes, even though it was sort of not tongue in cheek, but it was interesting. Some woman that Fiona you brought into your film, but I thought that, you know, underneath that is this question of labor, the invisible labor, and the kind of customary rights that these women who went to holy wells in order to survive, in order to clean their clothes, that were, you know, this very sort of derisory term, which is still in our common language, some woman. So I just thought that was interesting. Alejandro, I can't unpack that quickly enough, but maybe Fiona, you could talk about that in regards to your own kind of take on that, because it was cutting, you know, it was that kind of harsh humor.
Yeah, and it's quite funny. We came to that sort of quite by accident. I'd originally thought that I had gotten some school children to read out those writings from the 1930s. And it was only when I was listening back to the recordings, I realised it's always some woman. Like, it's always some woman that they're complaining about and, you know, that has done wrong. And you're right, like, that water, really, you know, water should be for everybody. And it shouldn't be, well, you can use this water, but don't use that water. And, like, yeah, I just thought it was interesting that it always seemed to be some woman who had used it incorrectly and was blacklisted.
And there's a sort of, I suppose, we've been working a lot around Lisdoon Barna, and we won't dwell too much on that because I know we've kind of carried that through the practice, especially yesterday. But we were very aware as well that Lisdoon Barna, as it's sort of spa wells that obviously dates back to the 1800s, and about 20,000 people a year would have come to take the waters. But it also has those separate layers. So you would have also had local kind of custodial practices around that, and I'm sure you all know Biddy of the Wells, or Biddy Sulphur, who was very much kind of that was her job, was to give people the water and to kind of be a custodian of the wells. But those, I suppose it does relate back to, I suppose, what local knowledge is. And also this is a place, Alejandro, that has you know, it's kind of, we're beyond the times of that sort of slow practice of taking the waters and that sort of slow medicinal rites, or almost rites of passage that people went through. And those wells themselves are now blocked, even though there's sulfur and magnesium and iron. These are not kind of accessible. You have to kind of look very hard. And the same with yours, Fiona, that you have to really kind of go looking for the well. And it's often very unmarked territory where these sources come from.